Welcome back to MB Capital Strategies. Today, we continue with the mining series. Imagine a company that is simultaneously the largest coal producer in the Western world and one of the most important copper suppliers for the energy transition. A corporation that has paid billions in fines for corruption. And yet, every time commodity prices rise, it turns into a cash flow machine. And it is precisely this corporation that stands at the beginning of a commodity supercycle that could change everything from 2026 to 2030. From 2026 to 2030 could change everything. Welcome to the Glencore Analysis 2025. Glencore is not a traditional mining company. Glencore is a dual engine. On one hand, we have the mining division, copper, nickel, zinc, coal, cobalt. And we have the trading segment, a kind of commodity hedge force. They trade physical commodities, earning profits from price differences, shortages, and volatility. And that stabilizes profits in weak years. This model makes Glencore unpredictable, but that's exactly why it's extremely exciting for investors who want cash flow. Let's take a look at my entry point here. I currently hold Glencore plc at a total of €4.31. I bought at 5.25 for €488.42. Currently, an unrealized loss of minus 17% or minus €87, with dividends received totaling €48.20. Now let's take a look at the data with InvestingPro. The 52-week low and high range between 2 and €4. The investing model has calculated a fair price here of €4.67. Now let's move on to revenue and profit. The truth behind the cyclicality. Let's just take a look at the last 10 years. We have revenue in billions of euros. In 2015, 135 billion euros. In 2018, 192 billion euros. In 2021, 203 billion euros. In 2022, the peak at 239 billion euros. And currently, there is a decline. 2023, 197 billion, 2024 at 223 billion. We have a long-term revenue growth rate of about 5%, and of course we see fluctuations, but those are normal in the commodities sector. Now let's move on to operating income. Minus 1 billion euros due to COVID and low prices. In 2021, plus 8 billion. 2022. 23.1 billion, that's when we had the energy crisis. 2023, 8.9 billion, and 2024 at plus 3.2 billion. This is roughly the low point of the cycle. Now let's move on to a point that many people overlook. 2024 is not a collapse. It's simply the trough in the commodity cycle. And it's precisely there that value opportunities arise. Why isn't the loss in 2024 critical? We have a net income. In 2022, it was 15.4 billion. In 2023, plus 2.9 billion. And in 2024, minus 2.6 billion. But adjusted net income in 2024 was minus 1.18 billion. For the most part, these are write-downs, not operational losses. The cash flow remains positive. That means Glencore is losing on paper in 2024, but not in actual cash generation. Now let's move on to the cash flow pillars. So the segment analysis. Where does Glencore really earn its money? Money? First we have coal. That's the cash flow king. In 2027, we have about $17 billion in EBITDA. In 2023, 10 to 12 billion. And in 2024, lower but stable. And now with the new mega deal, Glencore is taking over Teck, Elk Valley Resources. This increases coal production by 20 to 25%. Of course, from an ESG perspective, it's a disaster. For shareholders, it's pure cash flow. Now, let's move on to copper. The supercycle engine. Glencore produces over 1 million tons per year. Here we have the following important projects. If I mispronounce them, I'm sorry, but the names really are a bit difficult. We have Kohle, Huasi in Chile, plus an extra 100 to 150 kilotons at Tamina in Peru. The lifespan has been extended until 2036. We have Mutanda in Congo, the largest cobalt mine in the world. and it's fully back online. If copper stays between $10,000 and $12,000, copper EBITDA could rise to $10 to $12 billion. Nickel is weak in the short term. Nickel prices are currently down due to Indonesia. 2025 is expected to be rather weak, but a recovery is anticipated in 2027. Now let's move on to trading, the secret engine. We have a trading segment here. EBITDA in normal years is between 3 and 4 billion. In crisis years like 2022, up to 8 billion. This segment keeps the company alive when commodities are weak. Now to dividends and their buybacks. Why Glencore is a cash flow stock. Glencore pays out 50% of its free cash flow. Example 2022. Base dividend 1.5 billion. Special dividends 1.1 billion. Buybacks 4.5 billion. The typical dividend range is between 5 and 8% regularly. Of course, the special dividends depend on the cycle. Glencore is one of the most cash-intensive stocks in the entire mining sector. Currently, we are only at 1.98% dividend yield here. And as we just mentioned, due to all the write-downs, we are also seeing a negative payout ratio here. Let's see if the recovery we expect will materialize. Now let's move on to the valuation. And this is actually the most important thing. For the 2025 valuation, we also have a preface here. P of 8 to 9. We have an EV/EBITDA of 3 to 4. We have a price to book ratio of 0.8, and we have a free cash flow yield of about 10 to 15%. The dividend yield is about at 5 to 8%. Currently, according to InvestingPro fair value analysis, plus 11% undervalued. And now we come to the real investment case. Glencore is cyclical, politically risky, and ESG-wise dead, dependent on raw materials. But on the flip side, we have it is undervalued, ready for copper. Supercycle, coal generates billions for reinvestments, trading stabilizes. And we have high dividends and buybacks. 2024 could mark a low point and present entry opportunities. So, shall we now come to the conclusion? And that's the honest truth. Glencore is not the cleanest stock, not the most stable, and not the most ESG friendly, but perhaps the stock with the greatest cash flow leverage in the entire mining sector if copper goes through the roof. If energy prices rise, infrastructure and grid projects boom, then Glencore will be in a strong position from 2026 to 2030. Exactly where you want to be as a tough investor, right in the middle of value creation, right in the middle of the cash flow, right in the middle of the super cycle. Of course, that's just my personal opinion. What do you think of Glencore? If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave me a like. Subscribe for more content. And yes, let me know what you think about Glencore. I'm looking forward to your feedback. Until then, I wish you successful investing.